Ever met someone who lit up the whole room the second they walked in, and someone else who only brought peace when they finally walked out? She smiles sweetly. She laughs at your jokes. But behind the charm, is there a quiet storm waiting to explode? It's not about hate. It's not about blame. It's about waking up and seeing clearly who deserves your time and who's just playing a part in your downfall. Let's be honest. You've been there. We all have. You meet a woman who seems like the total package, confident, composed, magnetic. But over time, the light you thought she brought into your life, turns out it was draining your spirit instead. Some women bring light with them. Others, well, the light returns the moment they leave. And that's not a bitter observation. That's a survival skill. This isn't a blame game. It's a wake-up call. Because if you've lived long enough, and I know you have, then you've already learned. Not every woman who hugs you wishes you well. Not every woman who smiles wants to see you win. And not every hand you hold is reaching out to hold yours back. Some are just taking what they can before they let go. Life is far too short to spend it second-guessing yourself. To stay tangled with women who confuse you, exhaust you, or turn your peace into noise. Especially the ones who hide behind layers of politeness, flawless looks, and a carefully curated image. So in today's video, we're cutting through the mask. We'll expose 7 unmistakable signs of a bad woman. Traits so clear once you see them, you'll never unsee them. This isn't about judging women, it's about protecting your space, your peace, your future. It's about wisdom. About recognizing who belongs at your table and who's only there to eat your bread and walk away. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. And I'll add, the quality of your life also depends on the company you keep. Let's sharpen that clarity together. Are you ready? Let's begin. Sign number 1, she's always the victim. The first sign of a toxic woman is one that's so easy to miss, especially for kind-hearted men. She's always the victim. And I mean always. It doesn't matter who the story is about, her neighbor, her ex, her sister, her boss. Somehow she's the one who was wronged. Every single time. At first, she draws you in with these stories. You sit across from her, nodding, sympathizing. Maybe even thinking, wow, she's been through so much. She just needs someone good in her life. She knows exactly how to trigger your protector instinct. She paints vivid, emotionally loaded stories about betrayal, unfairness, being misunderstood. But here's the truth. It's not just her past she's sharing. It's a pattern she's rehearsed. The more you listen, the more you'll notice. The script never changes. The villains rotate, but the hero, the poor, wounded, blameless victim, is always her. Let me tell you a real story. Tom, a steady and kind man, met a woman like this after his divorce. At first, he thought she was refreshingly honest. She told him everything about her cheating ex, her jealous boss, her cruel sister. He admired her resilience. Thought she was strong for surviving it all. But as weeks turned into months, something felt off. The stories never stopped. And they all ended the same way. She was the one hurt, betrayed, or abandoned by everyone. That's when it hit him. It wasn't honesty. It was manipulation. She wasn't healing. She was performing. And every new story she told was just another way to keep him close, feeling guilty, responsible, hooked. That's how it begins, with sympathy, but it ends in control. So what happened to Tom? The deeper he fell into her story, the more he lost track of his own. It turned out every job she ever held ended with her being mistreated. Every friendship, sabotaged. Every relationship, toxic, abusive, or misunderstood. Eventually, Tom realized he was no longer a partner. He had unknowingly become a character in her never-ending script, a script where he was either the hero for validating her every emotion or the villain if he dared to challenge the narrative. And heaven forbid he ever suggested she might bear any responsibility. That made him public enemy number one. This is where it gets dangerous. A woman who constantly sees herself as the eternal victim will twist every reality to maintain that illusion. She refuses to take ownership. Instead, she rewrites the past, filters the present, and weaponizes emotion to create her own truth. And if you're not careful, you'll become part of the next chapter, not as a co-author of the relationship, but as the antagonist. You'll become the one who failed her, the one who never understood her, the one who left. And the worst part, you'll feel like you owe her an apology, even when you did nothing wrong. It's a psychological loop that exhausts you. It drains your energy, blurs your judgment, and slowly chips away at your inner peace. Stoicism, thankfully, offers a way out. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But the woman stuck in victimhood rejects that power. She doesn't want control. She wants sympathy. She wants a scapegoat. And over time, she places the weight of her world on your shoulders. Her past hurts, her daily frustrations, her every emotional storm. You become the emotional sponge, and the more you absorb, the more you lose yourself. So, what should you do? You recognize the pattern. You stop rescuing someone who doesn't want to be healed. You stop apologizing for wounds that you didn't create. You stay rooted in reason, not swept away by emotion. You can show compassion, yes, but from a safe, healthy distance. With boundaries. And if the stories never evolve, if you realize that every chapter still makes her the victim, it's time to step back. Quietly, firmly, without guilt. Because the truth is, walking away from chaos isn't cold. It's clarity. It's not cruelty. It's wisdom. And speaking of chaos, sign number 2, she's addicted to drama. Now this one. You don't need a philosophy degree to feel it. You'll sense it, deep in your gut, long before your brain catches up. She's addicted to drama. And I don't mean the occasional bad day or emotional outburst we all have once in a while. No, I'm talking about a woman whose entire life is a never-ending theater production. She's the writer, the director, the star, and the audience, all at once. And every hour the script changes. If life becomes too calm, too peaceful, too ordinary, she'll create chaos just to feel something. Because to her, peace is boring. Stability feels like suffocation. So she strikes the match. She fans the flames. And without even knowing it, you're in the fire too. So what happens when peace feels threatening to someone? When calm becomes the enemy? That's when drama becomes the drug. And you become the supplier. It doesn't take much to trigger the storm. Maybe you looked away while she was telling a story. Maybe your reply came a few minutes too late. Suddenly that's enough evidence for her to accuse you of pulling away. What was meant to be a quiet evening turns into a spiral of accusations, emotional outbursts, and tension you never saw coming. You find yourself trying to backpedal, explain, justify. You're apologizing, not because you understand what went wrong, but because you want the noise to stop. And when it's over, you're drained. She's recharged. That's the unsettling truth about people addicted to drama. Conflict feeds them. Drama for them is not just chaos, it's control. It's a tool to stay at the center of everything. When emotions run high, logic takes a back seat. And guess who's behind the wheel? She is. You spend hours trying to bring calm, trying to make peace. But she doesn't want peace. She wants energy. She wants stimulation. She wants the surge, and even if it comes at the cost of your sanity. As Stoicism teaches us, this isn't surprising. Strip it all down and it makes sense. Seneca once said, "An angry man opens his mouth and shuts his eyes." In other words, anger blinds us. Emotion overtakes reason. And for someone who thrives on emotional chaos, the goal isn't understanding, it's dominance. They're not chasing harmony, they're chasing the emotional high. If you're nearby, you become the spark. Even your silence might provoke, your calm presence. Interpreted as detachment, and boom, the fire ignites again. The real danger here isn't just her. It's what happens to you. At first, you think you're helping. You believe you're being the strong, stable presence. You tell yourself you're de-escalating, but in reality, you've become a supporting actor in her play. And the longer you stay, the more you get written into the script. Slowly, your identity shifts. You become reactive. You grow anxious. You start watching your words, second-guessing your actions, walking on eggshells. You're no longer calm, you're cautious. No longer steady, but tense. And that, my friend, is how a man loses his inner stillness. And when a man loses his inner stillness, he loses his greatest strength. So what's the solution? Distance. Not necessarily physical at first, but emotional. You must step back, create space. Let her storm rage without you being pulled into the eye of it. Observe, but don't engage. Listen, but don't absorb. Be present, but not reactive. As Epictetus taught us, you cannot control what others do. You can only control how you respond. And sometimes the strongest response is silence. Not every fire needs your water. Not every battle is yours to fight. You are not required to be an actor in someone else's drama. As a Stoic man, your duty is to remain grounded, self-possessed, and above all, free. And when you finally start to create distance from drama, a new tactic may quietly take its place, not through chaos, but through something far more subtle: guilt. Have you ever felt that weight in your chest when you've disappointed someone? That invisible pressure in your gut when you try to make a choice for yourself, but someone else's silence, their sigh, their eyes, suddenly make you feel like a criminal. That's not just emotion. Science shows us that guilt activates the same regions of the brain as physical pain. That tight chest, the uneasiness in your stomach, it's real. It's not just in your head. And some women, the wrong women, know exactly how to manipulate that response. The third sign of a toxic woman is this: she controls through guilt. Not with shouting, not with ultimatums, but with quiet disapproval, perfectly timed silences, and subtle emotional cues that make you question yourself. At first, it all seems harmless. Maybe she gets a little distant when you cancel a dinner date to finish a critical project. Maybe she looks hurt when you mention needing a weekend alone to recharge. You think, she's just sensitive. She cares deeply. She needs reassurance. So you give it. You reschedule your plans. You rearrange your priorities. You choose her over yourself again and again, not because you want to, but because you want to avoid that look. You know the one, that quiet disappointment that says, "I thought you were different. I thought I mattered more." She doesn't have to say it. Her eyes say it. Her silence screams it. And slowly, without even realizing it, you start shifting. You stop choosing based on logic or personal values. You start choosing based on fear: fear of letting her down, fear of being seen as selfish, fear of guilt. You become a responder, not a decision maker. You stop living and start tiptoeing. Here's the catch. You won't even notice it's happening. Not until you've crossed your own boundaries so many times that you forget where they even were. This is how she keeps control. Guilt becomes her currency, and the more you pay, the more she demands, not always in words. Sometimes with a long sigh, sometimes with a sad glance. Other times she withholds affection, makes you feel like you've fallen from grace, all for saying, I need time for myself. Before long, you're explaining your every move, justifying your right to breathe. You're no longer yourself. You're just an actor in the role she's cast for you, the role of the always apologetic, ever-accommodating man. So how do we respond? Stoic philosophy gives us a powerful reminder. Epictetus said, no man is free who is not master of himself. Let that sink in. If guilt is guiding your choices, if your actions are no longer led by reason, but by the fear of disappointing someone else, then you've already surrendered your freedom. Guilt clouds your vision. It buries your values under the weight of emotional obligation. You begin living reactively, not intentionally, and that is a dangerous path. The solution, not arguments, not emotional counterattacks, but boundaries. Clear, calm, consistent. Stand rooted in reason, not in fear. Give compassion, but don't give away your core. Respond with kindness, but live with clarity. Because when you let guilt control your life, you're no longer free. When you act from reason instead of guilt, you're no longer dancing to someone else's tune. You're walking your own path. And no matter how many times she tries to tug those old guilt strings, they no longer hold power over you. You offer what you choose to offer, not because you're afraid of punishment or withdrawal, but because it reflects your values. And when you live like that, firm, calm, unshaken, you reclaim your freedom. A man who lives by his principles is a man who cannot be manipulated. And that kind of inner freedom, no amount of guilt can take it from you unless you hand it over yourself. Sign number 4. She lacks empathy. The fourth sign. It usually doesn't show itself right away. But when life throws a curveball, when real hardship knocks on your door, that's when it becomes undeniable. She lacks empathy. And if you've lived long enough, you know one thing's for sure. Eventually, life will test you. A loved one passes, you get sick, your business takes a hit. You face something that shakes your world. And when that happens, you don't need someone to fix it. You just need someone who gets it, who stays beside you not because it's convenient, but because their heart won't let them be anywhere else. But a woman who lacks empathy, she's absent, emotionally and sometimes even physically. And if she's there, it's out of obligation. She's just playing the part, not living it. You'll notice it in subtle ways first. You come home emotionally drained from a hard week. You open up, share that you're exhausted. She barely lifts her eyes from her phone, mumbles something generic, then shifts the topic back to her new shoes, her weekend plans, or a petty complaint from work. Or maybe you take a risk. You open up about something vulnerable, something real. And instead of leaning in with care or curiosity, she brushes it aside. Like your heart was just another side note in her ongoing monologue. There's a cold distance. Not because she doesn't understand, but because she doesn't want to. A man I know, someone I deeply respect, once shared a story. After losing his wife, he started dating again. He met a woman who seemed warm, kind, attentive. But when his grief began to surface, when he needed someone to simply be still with him in his pain, she grew impatient, restless, uncomfortable. She couldn't sit with his sadness, couldn't hold space for silence. She'd change the subject, offer surface-level comfort, then circle the conversation back to herself, her problems, her plans, her world. Eventually, he realized something heartbreaking. He felt lonelier beside her than he did alone, and that's the cruel irony. Being with someone who lacks empathy is more isolating than solitude. This is where Stoic thought steps in, with both sharpness and compassion. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." And I'd like to add, waste no more time hoping someone will become what they are not. Empathy isn't something you can plant in someone. It's not a seed that grows if you water it enough. It's either there or it's not. And when it's not, you'll feel it, not just in what she does, but in what she withholds. The hug she doesn't offer, the silence that lingers when you need support, the emotional absence that speaks louder than words. You deserve presence. You deserve compassion. You deserve a partner who meets you where you are, not one who vanishes when your world gets dark. Because in this life, storms are inevitable. But loneliness in the storm? That's a choice, often made the moment we settle for someone who doesn't know how to care. Empathy doesn't come in grand gestures. It lives in the quiet moments. And when it's missing, even the loudest words can't fill the silence between two people. A woman who lacks empathy might sit right beside you, but emotionally, she's light years away. You might find yourself making excuses. Maybe she's tired. Maybe she just doesn't know what to say. Maybe I'm expecting too much. But deep down, something feels off. Something doesn't sit right. And Stoicism tells us, don't deny what you feel just because you wish it weren't true. We must learn to accept reality as it is, not as we hoped it would be. The truth is simple. If she cannot meet you with softness when you are breaking, she will not walk with you through life's storms. And the solution? It isn't to beg for more compassion. It's to make a new choice for yourself. To walk away if needed, not in bitterness, not in rage, but with clarity. Because life is far too short to share your soul with someone who only listens with their ears and never with their heart. Sign number 5. She's obsessed with superficial things. Now here's a sign that's easy to miss at first glance, but over time, it will quietly drain the life out of you. She's obsessed with superficial things. And I don't mean she enjoys fashion or appreciates beauty, Ben. That's perfectly fine. This is something deeper. This is someone who measures her worth by what she owns, not who she is. To her, life is one long highlight reel, the size of the house, the brand of the shoes, the number of followers, likes, compliments. She isn't just showing off. She's living for the show. And in the beginning, you might brush it off. What's the harm in wanting nice things, you ask? But this isn't about the things. It's about what those things represent: status, attention, superiority. She doesn't just want to feel good. She wants to feel better than her friends, better than her neighbors, better than you, and if she can. And that's when you'll feel it, like you're in a constant contest, a race you never entered. You could earn 6 figures, drive a reliable car, be grounded and generous, and somehow still feel like you're not enough. Because she's always looking up to the next person who has more, does more, flaunts more. It's exhausting. The Stoics warned us about this illusion thousands of years ago. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." But a woman obsessed with appearances? She's always wanting, always chasing, always comparing. Even when she gets what she wants, it's not contentment she feels, just a quick hit of dopamine, a momentary high, before the emptiness returns. And here's the tragic part. When a person values image over integrity, they will expect the same from you. Your worth in her eyes won't be measured by your character, your loyalty, or your peace. It will be measured by your status, your income, your aesthetic compatibility with the image she wants to project. And slowly, without realizing it, you'll find yourself living for optics, not for joy. You'll dress to impress, speak to be accepted, earn to be enough. That's not love, that's performance. And no man thrives under the weight of performance. We thrive in truth, in simplicity, in peace. So if you feel like you're becoming someone else just to keep her satisfied, that's not a relationship. That's a role you've been cast in. And the Stoic path reminds us, you were not born to be an actor in someone else's production. You were born to be real. So what happens when admitting fault feels like failure? When a simple "I was wrong" becomes a battlefield? That's when the sixth sign deepens. And what seemed like stubbornness becomes something much heavier. She refuses to admit her mistakes, no matter how small. She will defend a poor choice, a sharp insult, or even a clear misunderstanding to the bitter end. Because in her mind, being wrong equals being weak, and weakness is absolutely unacceptable. But here's the thing. The problem isn't just pride. It goes deeper than that. Psychologically, people who refuse to admit fault often do so because their sense of identity is fragile. To them, accepting blame feels like an attack on who they are. So they build walls. They deflect, they argue, not to win the truth, but to protect the image. But when someone makes being right the goal in every conversation, they sacrifice something far more valuable: growth, connection, trust. Because a person who cannot say, "I was wrong," cannot learn. And a person who cannot learn cannot grow. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If anyone can refute me, show me I'm making a mistake or looking at things from the wrong perspective, I'll gladly change. It's the truth I'm after." That's not weakness, that's wisdom. That's strength, the kind that doesn't need to dominate to feel secure. But when you're in a relationship with someone who can't accept that, everything becomes a quiet war. You'll notice it. Your thoughts, your feelings, your concerns, constantly being doubted, reframed, or minimized. The weight of reason, it will always fall on your shoulders. You'll be the one trying to keep things balanced, trying to find peace, while she tries to win. And that burden is exhausting. It's lonely. A relationship like that becomes less about love and more about control. The irony? In trying to protect her ego, she loses something even greater. Because in Stoic philosophy, what gives life meaning, what makes love real, is the pursuit of truth. And when someone refuses to admit fault, they're not just preserving their pride, they're closing the door on growth, on understanding, on intimacy, on love itself. So what does a Stoic man do? He chooses clarity. He chooses humility in himself and in his partner. Not because he expects perfection, but because he values imperfection that's honest. Because he knows that true strength isn't in always being right. It's in being brave enough to say, "I got it wrong. I'm learning." Let's grow. Without that humility, there is no partnership, only a power struggle, a scoreboard, a silent contest. And life is too short to spend it keeping score. Seneca once said, "Only time can heal what reason cannot." But in a relationship where reason is never allowed to speak, healing never begins. When reason is constantly rejected, when truth is never welcomed, time doesn't heal. It only hardens, and eventually you stop growing. You stop trusting. You stop believing that change is possible. So what's the solution? Seek someone who understands that saying "I was wrong" isn't a sign of weakness. It's one of the highest forms of strength. And if she can't offer that, then, with all the respect you've built for yourself and the peaceful life you're creating, it's time to walk away. Not in anger, but in clarity. Sign number 7, she disrespects your time. Here's the truth. Life teaches every man who's paid attention. Time is the one currency you can never earn back. You can lose money and make it again. You can lose your health and fight your way back. But time, once it's spent, it's gone forever. And that's why this final sign matters more than people think. A woman who disrespects your time doesn't just inconvenience you, she erodes your focus. She drains your emotional energy, and if you're not careful, she'll steal months, even years, from your life in small, invisible ways. You won't even notice until it's too late. Let me tell you a story. There was a man I once worked with in Houston, Richard, a self-made contractor in his mid-50s. Disciplined, sharp, respected. One of those men who built everything he had from the ground up, but in his personal life, different story. He started dating a woman named Elise. At first, she was captivating, beautiful, warm, and incredibly attentive. She knew how to make a man feel important. But over time, patterns began to show. She was always late. First 10 minutes. Then 30. Then sometimes she didn't show up at all. She'd cancel last minute, blame it on a headache or a work thing. And sometimes she just forgot. Richard, being the patient man he was, let it slide. He figured, life gets busy. It happens. But weeks turned into months, and Richard started bending more than he should have. He rearranged meetings to match her schedule. He sat alone at restaurants. He canceled fishing trips with lifelong friends, all because Elise said she wanted to spend time with him, only to flake out at the last minute. I still remember one afternoon. I was sitting across from him. He looked down at his phone. She had just ghosted him. Again. And he said something I'll never forget. Man, I feel like I'm always waiting. And that's exactly what it feels like when someone disrespects your time. They don't just leave you waiting at tables. They leave you waiting mentally. Emotionally, waiting for consistency, for respect, for reciprocity. And the longer it goes on, the more you begin to believe this is normal, that you're the one being unreasonable, that maybe you need to be more understanding. But a Stoic man knows better. He knows that life isn't short. It's just wasted when we spend it on the wrong people. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." So guard your time the way a warrior guards his peace. Give it to those who value it, not those who treat it like it means nothing. Because how a woman treats your time reveals everything about how she sees your worth. When someone constantly disrespects your time, it's not a matter of forgetfulness or being too busy. It's about value. The value they place on your presence and the value you place on yourself. That's the truth. Richard finally came to see. Elise wasn't busy. She wasn't forgetful. She simply didn't value his time. Because deep down, she didn't value him. And here's the hard truth. He had allowed it by not valuing his own time first. Because here's the thing. Time and life are not separate. Time is your life. Every minute wasted is a piece of your soul handed to someone who never asked for its worth. The solution? It's not confrontation. It's not shouting or begging for attention. It's clarity. Respect your own time as fiercely as you protect your peace, because the two are one and the same. A woman who truly values you will show up. She won't make you guess or wonder or wait. She'll treat your time like something sacred, because it is. Epictetus once asked, "How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself?" Richard finally stopped waiting. He stopped rearranging his life for someone who never intended to meet him halfway. He chose peace over pursuit. Self-respect over sacrifice. And you should too, because time wasted is life wasted. And the clock never ticks backward. So here's my invitation to you. Take inventory of where your time goes. Who receives it? Who values it? And more importantly, who doesn't? Then decide with clarity and courage to spend it where it's valued. Not where it's tolerated, not where it's ignored, but where it's met with mutual respect. And if this video helped you see things more clearly, even just one part, I would love to hear about it. Drop a comment below and share your story, your wins, your breakthroughs, even your setbacks. Because this isn't just a video, it's a community. One where wisdom grows, one where men sharpen each other through truth, and one where challenges are transformed into strength. And if you don't know what to comment, simply write, "I love this." That one sentence lets us know you finished strong. Also, don't forget to subscribe, tap the notification bell, and explore the other videos I've linked here to continue your growth. Let's keep walking this path towards strength, wisdom, and peace. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.